here we go again. Listen, I am just as tired as you guys are about footballing fans and the footballing world in general talking about the injustice of VAR. It feels like no exaggeration, every second game across the sport is plagued by refereeing controversy and VAR just being an absolute disgrace to the sport. And the same happened last night in a huge group stage clash in the group of death nonetheless, in the Parc des Princes with PSG and Newcastle. Now, full transparency, I am an Arsenal fan, so I was by all means a neutral to this game. So despite what some of you may be thinking, I didn't go into this game praying and hoping to see Newcastle lose or get robbed purely because they beat Arsenal through some bad refereeing and VAR. I've not only moved on from that game, but I've also acknowledged that, listen, it's not Newcastle's fault that VAR are an absolute bunch of incompetent people. And also another thing is that every team across every league has been robbed this season alone, so I don't really care about it. But with that being said, back onto the game and the flat out robbery we just witnessed. Now, I wouldn't say Newcastle were the better team. I mean, far from it actually. I thought the game was a really good watch and that both teams were playing to a pretty high standard, a really good group stage matchup. I mean, PSG definitely had the better of the chances, but Newcastle were clinical, and I mean, that goal from Isaac in the 24th minute was a really good striker's goal on the tip of his toes. Gets to the ball and puts it in the back of the net. But after that goal, I think PSG probably had the upper hand for pretty much the rest of the game. And now a lot of you may not like or may just disagree with what I'm going to say here, but I think if you had told me that based purely on the balance of play and the chances created, that a 1-1 draw would have been a fair result. Maybe just even a little bit harsh to PSG based on how many chances they had. But that's where the problem now lies. PSG and Newcastle played out a good game. PSG especially had a really good performance, and the way that PSG salvaged something from the game that in truth they actually did deserve. I mean, they deserved at least a draw from this game, but the way that it had to happen is my big problem, is where the problem lies, and not just with this game but in football in general. It's the 95th minute and PSG are very desperate, as you would expect. They've had so many chances and they just can't take any of them. I mean, Newcastle, I can count on my hand how many chances they had and they finished. So it's coming to that point where PSG are feeling like everything's going against them. They have a chance in the 95th minute, they are so desperate. Dembele gets it and he absolutely smashes it across the box to put it into the middle of the area for, I think it was Gonzalo Ramos. And it apparently struck a hand, and then PSG and all their players surrounded the ref, begging and pleading for a penalty. And I won't lie, at first glance I thought that hit the hand, but I mean, it's not going to get given, no chance. What must Livramento do? His hands are in a natural position and the ball has gone fizzed in, and like 2 inches away from him, the ball has gone fizzed in and it's hit Livramento's hand. That's what I thought at first glance. So I thought that's not going to get given. Then the controversy starts. VAR calls the referee over to have a look at it. But I even think that what VAR did to call the referee over to look at it, I don't think it's the worst choice. And I'll tell you why. Because it's clearly hit the hand of Livramento. It's in the box, 95th minute, in Paris. Surely you just want to make sure that the ref has seen what actually happened. So again, I know we're going to blame VAR and everything, but I don't really blame VAR too much for telling the ref just to make sure. But it's the problem is the moment the ref gets sent over nowadays in football, it's going to be a penalty. Every time it's going to be a penalty, it's to reverse the referee's decision. It's never to make sure that the referee saw what's happened. It's never to allow the ref to explain what happened to VAR. It is just to make the ref have to change his mind. And that's where the problem is. Again, I don't think it was a bad decision if we're talking about it from VAR just saying, hey, listen, just gonna make sure that you're happy with how it played out. It wasn't that. The problem is that VAR said, listen, we think that's a penalty, come look at it. And I mean, to make it all worse, right? You then look at it in the VAR replay, right? I mean, I'm watching from the broadcast, I'm watching at home, of course. We look at the replay. It's hit his body and then his arm. Not only has it just hit his body and his arm, like I said earlier, Dembele is 2 centimeters away from Livramento and he's blasted that ball. So it's hit Livramento's body, then his arm. And even his arm placement, I'm not too upset with. He's running and it's a natural position for his arm to be in. Explain to me how in any world, you could be a PSG fan, you have to admit, this is a disgraceful decision from the referee and from VAR. How could a ball that gets blasted at you from 2 centimeters away hit your body then your arm in a millisecond, and that's given as a handball. Honestly, disgraceful refereeing, disgraceful from VAR. And like I said, the game was good. PSG had a decent performance and probably did deserve at least a point out the game. But the way that it had to go down, the way that it's happened is so disgraceful, and honestly, I don't know how much more of this I can take. We love the sport, all of us do. It's the beautiful sport, it's the world's game, but what the hell is happening to it? Honestly, at this point, I just think if you take away VAR completely, I think it would be better for the sport, because at least then if mistakes are made and you can blame it on human error. But how can you have all this technology, all these replays, all these angles, and you could still give that a handball? The ref saw it correctly the first time. Why has he got to go look at it in the replay and say, oh, you know what, it's hit his body and then his arm, so technically it shouldn't be given a handball, but these PSG guys are giving me money, I have to give it a handball? It's disgraceful and so late in the game. Again, I know Newcastle probably didn't deserve a win, but the fact of the matter is the way that PSG salvaged their points is such a huge problem, and I don't see it coming to an end anytime soon. The only fix for this is if you completely scrap VAR. I've completely lost any faith in VAR. It's a disgraceful, and the worst part about it as well is that it's in such a huge game. The world is watching. It's a group stage game of the Champions League between two massive clubs in the group of death in the 96th minute, and you give it a handball. Honestly, disgraceful. I'm so tired of talking about this. I'm so tired of watching the replays. I'm so tired of thinking about it. And I'm not even a Newcastle fan, so I really empathize with you Newcastle fans. But yeah, guys, that's the video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the game. What do you guys think about the decision made by the referee? Please let me know if you disagree with me. I won't fight with you. I just want to understand how that could be given as a handball. Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.